Muharram holds a special place in the hearts of Muslims worldwide, as it marks the beginning of the Islamic lunar year. But what makes this month so sacred? In a world where time flies by and days blur into one another, Muharram stands as a reminder of spiritual beginnings, a fresh start for every believer. It's not just the first month of the year in the Islamic calendar, but a time for reflection, purification, and a renewed commitment to the path of righteousness. Unlike any other month, Muharram carries profound significance, both in historical events and in the teachings of Islam. It's a time that draws us closer to Allah, reminding us of the struggles of the past, the sacrifices of the righteous, and the eternal fight between truth and falsehood. There's something uniquely powerful about this month, one that calls us to pause, reflect, and connect with our Creator. The sacredness of Muharram is mentioned directly in the Quran. In Surah At-Tawbah, Allah says, "Indeed, the number of months with Allah is 12 months in the book of Allah, from the day He created the heavens and the earth. Of these, 4 are sacred." Quran 9:36. These 4 sacred months, including Muharram, hold a particular place in the eyes of Allah, offering a time of peace and reverence. During these months, fighting and hostility are prohibited, giving people the opportunity to focus on spiritual matters without the distractions of worldly conflicts. But what does this mean for us as Muslims living in today's world? It means that Muharram is not just a passage of time, it's an opportunity, a divine invitation to elevate our worship, our connection with Allah, and our relationship with each other. It's a time to reflect on what truly matters, to repent for past mistakes, and to seek the mercy of Allah. Muharram is more than a name on the calendar. It's a sacred space carved out by Allah, providing us a window to turn back to Him with sincerity, seeking forgiveness and guidance for the year ahead. Think about it. Every year begins with this month, offering a clean slate. How many times do we wish for another chance to make things right? Muharram is that chance. It's the opportunity to set our intentions straight, to strive for goodness, and to remember the past so we don't repeat its mistakes. The month of Muharram also holds the distinction of being a period where we are encouraged to fast, particularly on the 10th day, known as Ashura. The fast of Ashura is a practice that reaches far back into the history of Islam, with deep roots tied not just to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but also to earlier prophets, especially Prophet Musa alaihi salam. It's a day when the believer is encouraged to fast, as the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Fasting on the day of Ashura expiates the sins of the previous year." Sahih Muslim. The act of fasting on Ashura is an opportunity to wipe away the mistakes of the past year, to seek Allah's forgiveness, and to renew one's commitment to live a life of virtue and piety. It is a day to reflect on the importance of self-discipline and to remember the trials and triumphs of the prophets. Muharram is also a month that stands as a symbol of struggle. It is a month that not only calls us to remember the great sacrifices of those who came before us, but also challenges us to live in alignment with the values they embodied. The month is imbued with a sense of hope and perseverance, especially when we recall the sacrifices made by the righteous in the face of oppression and injustice. Muharram urges us to remember the lessons of the past while motivating us to strive for a more just and compassionate future. The first month of the Islamic year sets the tone for everything that follows. It's not just about marking time, but about marking the heart, recalibrating it for the year ahead. This month invites us to embrace the sacred and to take a moment to reset, to tune into our inner selves and our relationship with Allah. It is a call to elevate our spiritual practices, to reflect on our actions, and to commit to living a life that reflects the principles of justice, mercy, and truth. Now, when we speak of Muharram, we're speaking of something that transcends the Islamic calendar itself. It carries within it lessons from the past that speak to every believer, regardless of time or place. For centuries, Muslims around the world have observed Muharram as a month of heightened devotion and introspection. But what makes this month truly special is not only the prohibition of conflict or the rituals associated with it, but the deep spiritual meaning it holds for those who approach it with sincerity and reverence. The sacredness of Muharram calls us to make it more than just a passing moment in time. It is an invitation to make each day of the month count, to align our hearts with the will of Allah, and to reflect on how we can become better Muslims in the year ahead. The importance of Muharram can be understood in the context of its place among the sacred months. The Quran speaks of these months as a time of reflection and tranquility. In these sacred months, Muslims are reminded to act in a manner that honors the sanctity of time itself. In a world where distractions are endless and time is often taken for granted, Muharram offers a sacred pause. It calls us to focus, to reflect, and to remember the values that truly matter. As we step into the new Islamic year, Muharram provides the perfect opportunity to set spiritual resolutions, to renew our commitment to Allah, and to look forward with hope. The significance of this month is not limited to rituals or symbolic actions. It is about transforming ourselves spiritually. It is a chance to grow in our understanding of Islam, to draw closer to Allah, and to seek forgiveness. With every day of Muharram, we have the opportunity to purify our hearts and minds, leaving behind the mistakes of the past and embracing the chance to move forward with renewed faith and determination. The beginning of the Islamic year starts with Muharram, but the true meaning of this sacred month lies in what we do with it. It's a month that can set the stage for the entire year. How will you use this time? Will you take the opportunity to start anew, to forgive, to reflect, and to strive for a deeper connection with Allah? Muharram calls us to live with intention, purpose, and devotion. It invites us to embrace the sacredness of time, recognizing that every moment is a gift from Allah, and every opportunity to grow spiritually is one that should be cherished. As we step into Muharram, we should remember that it is not just a passage of time, it is a sacred month that invites us to purify our hearts, to reflect on the past, and to chart a course for the future. In this sacred month, we are given a chance to reset spiritually, to seek Allah's mercy, and to renew our commitment to living a life of justice, compassion, and righteousness. The sacredness of Muharram is not just in the rituals but in the heart of the believer who truly seeks to honor its significance. Muharram is a month that holds many layers of meaning, from the sacred prohibition of conflict to the reminder of past sacrifices. It's a time for self-reflection and a deepening of our relationship with Allah. It's a time to renew our commitment to what is righteous and just, to purify our hearts, and to take steps toward a better, more purposeful life. Muharram, in its essence, is about remembering the past, embracing the present, and setting intentions for a future filled with faith, peace, and goodness. On the 10th day of Muharram, known as Ashura, Muslims around the world observe a day of deep reflection, fasting, and worship. The significance of this day is rooted in the actions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. He fasted on Ashura and encouraged the Muslims to do the same, highlighting its importance. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Fasting on the day of Ashura expiates the sins of the previous year." Sahih Muslim, a powerful reminder of the mercy and forgiveness that Allah offers to those who turn to Him sincerely. The fast of Ashura is not just a ritual, but a means to purify the soul, to seek Allah's mercy, and to start the year with a clean slate. Fasting on this day is an act of devotion, a way to emulate the Prophet's sallallahu alaihi wasallam example, and to draw closer to Allah. But Ashura is more than just a day of fasting. It is a day imbued with profound historical and spiritual significance. It's a day of gratitude, a day to reflect on the mercy of Allah and His blessings. For Muslims, Ashura is a reminder of the many pivotal moments in Islamic history, and one of the most significant is the deliverance of Prophet Musa, alayhi salam, and the Israelites from Pharaoh's tyranny. When the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, arrived in Medina, he found that the Jews there were observing the fast on the 10th of Muharram in commemoration of the Israelites' escape from Pharaoh's army. Upon learning this, the Prophet ﷺ confirmed the importance of this day as it marked a moment of divine intervention when Allah parted the sea to allow the Israelites to escape. To mark this event, Muslims too began to fast on Ashura, following the tradition of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. The story of the Prophet Musa ﷺ and the Israelites is one of triumph over oppression, and Ashura serves as a reminder of Allah's power to deliver his people from the worst of trials. It's a moment in time when the helpless were saved by the mercy of Allah, and it calls upon every believer to reflect on their own struggles. It reminds us that no matter how difficult our circumstances may seem, Allah's mercy is always within reach. Ashura serves as a beacon of hope, showing us that Allah's help is nearer than we think, and that we must place our trust in Him, even when facing seemingly insurmountable obstacles. However, Ashura is also a day of sorrow, for it marks the martyrdom of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and his companions at the Battle of Karbala. This tragic event is deeply embedded in the hearts of Muslims, especially the Shia community, who mourn the loss of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his companions, who stood against oppression and tyranny despite knowing the price they would pay. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the grandson of the Prophet Muhammad Shallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, refused to pledge allegiance to the tyrant Yazid, choosing instead to uphold the values of justice, righteousness, and truth. His sacrifice at Karbala is not just an act of martyrdom, it is a symbol of standing up for what is right, even in the face of death. The lessons of Karbala resonate deeply, teaching Muslims about the importance of standing firm in their faith, advocating for justice, and refusing to be complicit in wrongdoing. The Battle of Karbala is a stark reminder of the moral courage required to uphold righteousness. Imam Hussein's alayhi salam stand against Yazid represents the ultimate act of resistance against tyranny, a lesson that is just as relevant today as it was in the 7th century. The events of Ashura teach Muslims to never compromise on their principles, to always speak out against injustice, and to support the oppressed, no matter the cost. In every corner of the world, the story of Karbala echoes in the hearts of those who strive for justice and righteousness. Ashura, then, is not just a day of fasting and remembrance. It is a day that calls upon every Muslim to reflect on their own actions, to renew their commitment to the principles of truth, justice, and piety, and to ask themselves, am I living a life that aligns with the values of Karbala? It's a day that reminds us that standing up for justice, no matter how difficult or unpopular it may be, is the true path to righteousness. Imam Hussein's alayhi salam sacrifice teaches us that standing firm in our beliefs, even in the face of overwhelming adversity, is the ultimate testament to faith. Ashura is a day that brings the believer closer to Allah, not only through fasting but through reflection on the meaning of justice, sacrifice, and moral courage. As we fast on Ashura and remember the events of the past, we are also reminded of the timeless lessons they carry. The fast on this day expiates the sins of the previous year, but the true benefit of Ashura lies in the transformation it calls us to make in our lives. It is a day to renew our commitment to Allah, to seek His forgiveness, and to strive to live in a way that honors the sacrifices made by those who came before us. The fast of Ashura offers a moment to reflect on our own relationship with Allah, to purify our hearts, and to seek a fresh start for the year ahead. In remembering the past, we are called to action in the present. Ashura serves as a reminder that our faith is not just about rituals, but about embodying the values of justice, truth, and moral integrity in our daily lives. It calls upon us to act with compassion, to stand against oppression, and to support those who are suffering. It reminds us that, like the Prophet Musa, alayhi salam, and the people of Karbala, we too are part of a larger story, a story of faith, sacrifice, and divine justice. Muharram is a month filled with deep spiritual significance, but Ashura stands at its pinnacle, drawing believers into a reflection on the core principles of Islam. The fast, the prayers, and the remembrance of the trials faced by the prophets and martyrs offer an opportunity for personal growth, self-reflection, and transformation. It's a month that calls Muslims to stand firm in their faith, to seek Allah's forgiveness, and to renew their commitment to justice and righteousness. As the 10th of Muharram arrives, Muslims across the world unite in their fasting, prayers and remembrance, reflecting on the timeless lessons of the past and striving to apply them in their own lives. The events of Muharram stretch far beyond the acts of worship performed during the month, calling Muslims to reflect on moments of immense historical significance. One of the most impactful events tied to this sacred month is the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, at the Battle of Karbala. The sacrifice of Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, and his companions is a monumental chapter in Islamic history, a moment of deep reflection and powerful lessons for Muslims everywhere. It is a tragedy that occurred in the year 61 AH, yet it continues to resonate with the hearts of Muslims, especially during the month of Muharram. Imam Hussein's, alayhi salam, stand against the oppressive rule of Yazid has become a symbol of unwavering commitment to justice, truth and righteousness, a reminder that standing up for what is right requires sacrifice and courage. The story of Karbala is not just a historical event, it is a call to action for every Muslim. Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, refused to pledge allegiance to Yazid, a ruler known for his tyranny and immorality, because he could not condone a leadership that deviated from the path of righteousness. His refusal to submit, even in the face of certain death, is a powerful testament to the strength of his faith and conviction. He chose martyrdom over compromising his principles, and in doing so, he became a symbol of resistance against injustice. Imam Hussein's, alayhi salam, stand at Karbala was not only a political statement, it was a moral and spiritual declaration, showing that sometimes standing for what is right requires the ultimate sacrifice. The sacrifice of Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, serves as a beacon of light for all Muslims, urging them to uphold justice and righteousness, no matter the challenges they face. The lessons of Karbala go beyond the event itself. They call upon every Muslim to live a life that reflects the values of truth, justice, and moral courage. Just as Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, stood firm in his beliefs, Muslims are encouraged to stand firm in their faith, to speak out against oppression, and to work towards a world where justice prevails. Karbala teaches that the pursuit of truth is not always easy, but it is always worth it. Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, may have sacrificed his life, but his legacy lives on in the hearts of those who continue to uphold the principles he fought for. As we remember the events of Karbala during Muharram, we are reminded of our responsibility to live with integrity, to advocate for the oppressed, and to always seek the truth, no matter the cost. The martyrdom of Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, is a powerful call to action, urging every Muslim to stand for what is right, to fight against injustice, and to never compromise on their beliefs. The tragedy of Karbala is not just a story of the past. It is a timeless lesson that challenges us to live with honor, courage, and conviction in the face of adversity. Through the example of Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, we learn that the pursuit of justice is a noble endeavor, one that can change the course of history and inspire generations to come. Imam Hussein's, alayhi salam, martyrdom at the Battle of Karbala is one of the most defining events in Islamic history. His stand against tyranny, oppression, and corruption remains one of the most significant moments of moral courage and sacrifice. But the story of Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, is not just about a battle. It is about a stand for what is right, regardless of the cost. It is about upholding justice, truth, and righteousness, even when facing overwhelming odds. Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, was not just a leader. He was a symbol of unwavering commitment to these core values, and his decision to sacrifice everything for the sake of Allah's justice is something that resonates deeply with Muslims, especially during Muharram. His refusal to pledge allegiance to Yazid, the unjust ruler, was not a mere political act, it was a moral and spiritual stand. Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, knew that Yazid's rule was one of oppression, immorality, and corruption, and he could not, in good conscience, support such a regime. He chose to stand firm in his faith, even if it meant facing death. Imam Hussein's, alayhi salam, stand was a stand for the truth, and it was one that would echo throughout history. The significance of Karbala is not just in the sacrifice itself, but in the powerful lesson it imparts to every believer. Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, demonstrated that sometimes standing for what is right requires great personal sacrifice. The people of Karbala, including Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, and his companions, understood the price of their actions. They knew that they would face martyrdom, but they chose to give their lives in the pursuit of justice. This act of martyrdom is not just an example of physical bravery. It is a manifestation of moral courage, spiritual strength, and an unwavering commitment to upholding the values of Islam. Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, did not fight for power or worldly gain. He fought for truth and justice, for the preservation of the true teachings of Islam. His sacrifice reminds us that the pursuit of justice is not always easy or popular, but it is always righteous. In the face of oppression, injustice, and tyranny, Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, taught us that we must never compromise on our principles. His story calls upon us to remain steadfast in our own struggles, to stand firm in our faith, and to advocate for what is right, no matter the challenges we face. The events of Karbala have a timeless relevance. They are not just a historical story, but a living lesson that speaks to us in every age and every generation. Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, showed us that standing up for justice requires not only bravery, but a deep understanding of what is at stake. It is not about personal gain or recognition. It is about upholding the dignity of the oppressed, standing firm in the face of corruption, and making a stand for what is right, no matter the consequences. The martyrdom of Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, challenges us to ask ourselves, how committed are we to justice? How far are we willing to go to uphold what is right? The answer to these questions will determine not just the quality of our individual faith, but also the strength of our collective commitment to the values that Islam teaches us. Imam Hussein's, alayhi salam, sacrifice was not in vain. It is a source of inspiration for Muslims around the world, reminding us that the fight for justice is one that transcends time and place. The lessons of Karbala are as relevant today as they were over 1,000 years ago. Imam Hussein's, alayhi salam, message is one of standing firm against oppression and injustice, speaking out for the voiceless, and never compromising on what is right. It is about moral integrity, spiritual conviction, and the courage to resist tyranny, even when the cost is high. In today's world, where injustice and oppression still exist in many forms, the example of Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, is more important than ever. His martyrdom is a reminder that, no matter how difficult the struggle may be, we must never back down from standing up for what is just. The Battle of Karbala is not just a historical event, it is a call to action for all of us, urging us to fight for justice, uphold truth, and support the oppressed. It is a message that continues to inspire Muslims around the world to this day, reminding us that the pursuit of justice is an essential part of our faith. Imam Hussein's, alayhi salam, legacy is one of resistance against injustice, a fight for what is right, and a commitment to truth. His martyrdom is not just a story of loss, it is a story of triumph. It is a victory of faith over tyranny, of truth over falsehood. Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, may have died on the plains of Karbala, but his message lives on. His stand for justice continues to inspire generations of Muslims to uphold the values of Islam and to never compromise on what is right. His sacrifice calls us to reflect on our own lives and to ask ourselves, are we living in a way that reflects the values of justice, truth, and righteousness that Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, upheld? Are we willing to stand up for what is right, even in the face of great adversity? These are the questions that the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, challenges us to answer. In Muharram, fasting is not just an act of abstaining from food and drink, it is a deeply spiritual practice that brings the believer closer to Allah. Fasting in Muharram, especially on the 10th day, Ashura, holds particular significance in Islam. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself fasted on this day and encouraged his followers to do the same. The fast of Ashura is not just a ritual, it is a means of purification, a way to seek forgiveness, and a way to renew one's connection with Allah. Fasting on this day has immense rewards, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, fasting on the day of Ashura expiates the sins of the previous year, Sahih Muslim. This makes the fast of Ashura a powerful tool for spiritual renewal, allowing the believer to cleanse themselves from the sins of the past year and to start the new year with a heart that is purer and more focused on worship. The significance of fasting on Ashura is not only spiritual but also historical. As we've seen, Ashura is a day of great historical importance, marking the deliverance of Prophet Musa, alayhi salam, and the Israelites from Pharaoh's oppression. Allah's mercy was manifested on this day when he parted the Red Sea, allowing the Israelites to escape. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam recognized the importance of this day, which is why he fasted and recommended it to his followers. By fasting on Ashura, Muslims are not only following the example of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but are also participating in a long-standing tradition that honors the miraculous intervention of Allah in the lives of the Allahu alaihi wasallam, prophets and their communities. The fast of Ashura connects Muslims to the larger story of Islam and reminds them of the importance of seeking Allah's help in times of difficulty. Fasting during Muharram is not just about abstaining from food and drink. It is a time to purify the soul, to focus on worship, and to draw closer to Allah. It is a time for self-reflection, repentance, and a renewed commitment to living a life that is pleasing to Allah. As we fast, we are reminded of the struggles of the past, the sacrifices made by the righteous, and the importance of staying firm in our faith. The fast of Ashura serves as a reminder that true fasting is not just about what we refrain from, but about what we strive towards. It is about purifying our hearts, cleansing our minds, and renewing our relationship with Allah. While fasting on Ashura is highly recommended, it is also a time to reflect on the lessons that this day brings. The fast of Ashura is not just a physical act. It is a deeply spiritual experience that connects the believer to the wider history of Islam and to the sacrifices made by the prophets and martyrs. By fasting on Ashura, Muslims participate in a tradition that spans centuries, a tradition that calls upon us to reflect on the values of justice, truth, and righteousness. It is a day to recommit ourselves to these values and to seek Allah's forgiveness for the shortcomings of the past year. Fasting on Ashura also offers an opportunity for the believer to reflect on their own life and to take stock of their spiritual journey. Just as the Israelites were saved from Pharaoh's oppression, we are reminded that Allah's mercy is always within reach, and that no matter what struggles we face, we can always turn to Him for help and guidance. The fast of Ashura is a time to renew our trust in Allah's plan, to seek His mercy, and to reflect on how we can live a life that is more in line with the teachings of Islam. It is a time to remember the sacrifices of the past and to look forward with hope and determination, knowing that Allah's mercy is always greater than any difficulty we may face. The day of Ashura, the 10th of Muharram, also carries a deep connection to the story of Prophet Musa, alayhi salam, and the miraculous events that unfolded in his life, specifically the parting of the Red Sea. This incredible moment when Allah saved the Israelites from Pharaoh's oppression is one of the most powerful manifestations of Allah's mercy and intervention in the history of humanity. In the Quran, Allah tells us about the struggle of Prophet Musa, alayhi salam, and his unwavering faith as he led his people out of Egypt, facing an oppressive ruler who sought to destroy them. When the Israelites were trapped between the Red Sea and Pharaoh's army, Allah commanded Musa, alayhi salam, to strike the sea with his staff, causing it to part and allowing the Israelites to cross safely. This divine act of mercy is one of the greatest miracles in Islam, and it serves as a reminder that Allah's help is always near, even in the most dire of circumstances. The story of Musa's, alayhi salam, deliverance is significant not only because of the miracle it represents, but also because of the spiritual lessons it offers. Just as the Israelites were saved from Pharaoh's tyranny, Muslims are reminded that no matter how dark or difficult our circumstances may seem, Allah's mercy is always within reach. This moment in history shows that Allah does not abandon His people. He is always present, guiding and protecting those who put their trust in Him. The day of Ashura, in commemorating the escape of the Israelites, serves as a reminder to every Muslim that when we are in moments of distress or oppression, we must turn to Allah with complete trust and faith. It is a day that encourages us to have patience, to remain steadfast, and to believe that Allah's mercy will always find a way, even when all seems lost. But there is more to the day of Ashura than just the remembrance of this miraculous event. Ashura is also a moment to reflect on our own struggles and to draw lessons from the lives of the prophets who faced immense hardships. Just as Prophet Musa, alayhi salam, stood firm against Pharaoh's oppression, we too are called to stand firm in the face of challenges, injustice, and adversity. The events of Ashura invite us to examine our own actions, our own commitment to truth, and our own courage in the face of trials. It calls us to consider how we respond when faced with adversity and to ask ourselves, do we have the faith to stand up for what is right, no matter the cost? The lesson of Ashura, drawn from the story of Musa, alayhi salam, is that we must always rely on Allah's guidance, trust in His plan, and maintain our integrity, even when faced with the greatest obstacles. As we reflect on the deliverance of Prophet Musa, alayhi salam, we also recognize the importance of remaining patient and resilient, even in the face of seemingly impossible circumstances. The Israelites, trapped between Pharaoh's army and the Red Sea, were in a position of complete despair, yet they remained hopeful and trusted in Allah's promise. This moment teaches us that even when we feel trapped by our difficulties, we must continue to have faith that Allah will provide a way out, just as He did for the Israelites. The day of Ashura reminds us that the trials we face are not permanent, and that with patience, perseverance, and trust in Allah, we will overcome them. Muharram, and particularly Ashura, is a time for deep spiritual renewal and reflection. It offers an opportunity to reassess our relationship with Allah, to purify our hearts, and to renew our commitment to living a life of righteousness. This month, in its sacredness, calls us to focus not just on external acts of worship, but on the internal state of our hearts. It is a time to reflect on the year that has passed, to seek forgiveness for our shortcomings, and to set new intentions for the year ahead. Just as the Israelites were given a second chance through Allah's mercy, Muharram offers us the opportunity for spiritual renewal and the chance to begin again with a clean slate. In addition to fasting, which is a central act of worship in Muharram, this month calls us to engage in other forms of worship and reflection, including prayer, charity, and supplication. These acts of worship help us to realign our hearts with the will of Allah, purify our intentions, and strengthen our connection with Him. Muharram is not just about abstaining from food and drink on Ashura. It is about fasting from all things that distract us from Allah, focusing on what truly matters, and seeking His pleasure. It is a time to purify our hearts of any impurities, to cleanse our souls, and to engage in sincere repentance. Through these acts of worship, we draw closer to Allah, seek His mercy, and prepare ourselves for the challenges of the year ahead. Muharram is a month of great potential for spiritual growth and self-improvement. The act of fasting, especially on the day of Ashura, provides an opportunity to develop greater self-discipline, to break free from worldly desires, and to strengthen our connection with Allah. Fasting helps us to feel the hunger and thirst that many around the world experience, allowing us to develop empathy for those less fortunate. It also teaches us gratitude for the blessings we often take for granted, and it encourages us to reflect on how we can live more consciously and intentionally. The physical act of fasting serves as a reminder of the deeper spiritual fast, the fast from sin, from negative thoughts, and from anything that leads us away from Allah. Muharram, then, becomes a time not just for external fasting but for internal purification as well. Beyond personal reflection and repentance, Muharram also calls us to engage with our communities, to strengthen the bonds of brotherhood and sisterhood, and to support one another in our spiritual journeys. Just as the companions of Prophet Musa, alayhi salam, stood together in the face of Pharaoh's oppression, and just as the family and companions of Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, stood together at Karbala, we too are reminded of the importance of community and solidarity in our shared journey of faith. Muharram is a time for Muslims to come together in worship, remembrance, and mutual support. It is a time to strengthen our ties with one another, to engage in acts of kindness and charity, and to work together to uphold the values of justice, compassion, and righteousness. Through these communal acts of worship and reflection, Muharram helps us to renew our sense of purpose, to remember our shared responsibility as a Muslim ummah, and to recommit ourselves to the path of righteousness. It reminds us that we are not alone in our struggles, that we have one another to rely on, and that together we can overcome the challenges that we face. The spirit of Muharram calls upon us to be better not just as individuals but as a community, to live with greater sincerity, to support one another in times of difficulty, and to work together to create a society based on justice, compassion, and mercy. As we engage in acts of worship, reflection, and community during Muharram, we are reminded of the importance of balance in our lives. This month encourages us to strike a balance between our personal spiritual development and our collective responsibilities. We are called to remember the lessons of the past, to seek forgiveness for our shortcomings, and to renew our commitment to living a life that is pleasing to Allah. Muharram, in its sacredness, invites us to reconnect with the deeper aspects of our faith, to purify our hearts, and to begin anew with a clearer focus on our ultimate goal, pleasing Allah and living a life of righteousness. In conclusion, Muharram is a month of profound spiritual significance, offering a unique opportunity for personal growth, communal solidarity, and renewed commitment to the path of righteousness. Through fasting, prayer, charity, and reflection, we are reminded of the importance of trust in Allah, the value of justice, and the power of resilience in the face of adversity. It is a time to reflect on the lessons of the past, to purify our hearts, and to prepare ourselves for the challenges ahead. Muharram calls us to embrace the opportunity for spiritual renewal and to live with greater intention and purpose, knowing that every act of worship, every moment of reflection, and every effort to uphold justice and compassion brings us closer to Allah. Muharram is not just an isolated event in the Islamic calendar. It is an opportunity for the Muslim community to come together in a spirit of unity, reflection, and mutual support. The sacredness of this month is amplified when Muslims gather not just for worship, but to strengthen the bonds that connect them to one another. The events of Muharram, especially Ashura, are not just about personal reflection or individual acts of worship. They are about the collective experience of remembrance, of coming together to honor the great sacrifices made by those who stood for justice. Imam Hussein's, alayhi salam, sacrifice at Karbala wasn't just a personal act of resistance. It was a stand for the entire Muslim community. His legacy reminds us that the strength of a community is not merely in its numbers, but in its commitment to standing for what is right, to supporting those who are oppressed, and to maintaining justice in all circumstances. The importance of community during Muharram is also reflected in the way Muslims across the world observe the month. Whether it is through congregational prayers, lectures, or charity drives, Muharram offers an opportunity to engage with one another, to share in the sorrow and the lessons of the past, and to renew our collective commitment to the values of Islam. The story of Karbala is one that speaks to every Muslim, regardless of their cultural background, nationality, or community. It transcends borders and divisions, uniting Muslims in a shared sense of reverence for Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, and his companions. The tragedies and triumphs of Karbala are not just historical events, they are part of the living narrative of the Muslim Ummah, a source of inspiration and a call to action for every believer. This sense of unity is especially important in the world today, where division and strife often cloud our collective efforts to address the challenges we face as a community. Muharram serves as a reminder that no matter how divided we may feel, we are united by our common faith, our shared values, and our mutual responsibility to uphold justice and righteousness. Just as the people of Karbala stood together in the face of adversity, we too must support one another, working together to promote the values that Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, fought to protect. The strength of the Muslim Ummah lies not just in its individual members, but in its collective commitment to the path of truth and justice. By coming together during Muharram, we are reminded of the importance of solidarity, of standing united in our devotion to Allah and in our efforts to create a just and compassionate world. Moreover, the sacredness of Muharram is also an opportunity for the individual to engage in self-reflection and spiritual growth within the context of the community. It is a time for Muslims to renew their personal commitment to faith, to examine their relationship with Allah, and to seek forgiveness for past mistakes. But it is also a time to reflect on our role within the broader community, to consider how we can contribute to the collective good, and to recognize the importance of working together in the service of Allah. Muharram reminds us that our faith is not just an individual pursuit, but one that is meant to be lived out within the context of the larger Muslim community. It calls us to be active participants in the life of the Ummah, to support one another in times of need, and to work towards the common goal of creating a world where justice, compassion, and mercy prevail. As we observe the sacredness of Muharram, we are also reminded of the importance of reflection. It is a time to look inward, to assess our actions, and to commit ourselves to making positive changes in the coming year. Through fasting, prayer, and acts of charity, we engage in a process of self-purification, seeking to cleanse our hearts and minds of negativity, pride, and selfishness. But this process of reflection is not just about individual growth, it is about the collective purification of the community. Just as every individual's actions affect the larger community, the collective actions of the community shape the broader world. Muharram calls us to reflect on how we, as a community, can become more aligned with the values of justice, peace, and mercy that are central to our faith. It challenges us to reflect on our individual and collective responsibilities and to take action that will bring us closer to the ideal of a just and compassionate society. Through acts of charity, worship, and mutual support, the Muslim community comes together to renew its commitment to justice and righteousness during Muharram. It is a time for introspection, yes, but also a time for collective action, for coming together to help those in need, to provide support to the oppressed, and to create a world that reflects the values we hold dear. Just as Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, fought for justice and truth, so too must we fight for these values in our own lives, not just through words, but through actions. The lessons of Karbala teach us that standing for what is right requires both courage and sacrifice, and that the true strength of a community lies in its willingness to stand together in the face of injustice. As we reflect on the sacredness of Muharram, we are called to renew our commitment to this noble cause, to continue the work of justice, and to strive to create a better world for ourselves and for future generations. Muharram is not just a time to remember the past, it is also a time to renew our spiritual and moral commitment to the future. The lessons of this sacred month are not just about reflecting on the struggles of the past, but about using those reflections to guide us as we move forward in life. As we conclude our observance of Muharram, it is important to ask ourselves how we can carry the lessons of this month into the rest of the year. The sacredness of Muharram teaches us that the pursuit of justice, the commitment to truth, and the call to act with compassion are not limited to a single month, but are values that must permeate our lives every day. It is a reminder that our journey towards Allah is ongoing, that every action, no matter how small, is an opportunity to draw closer to Him. Muharram calls us to live with purpose, to align our actions with our faith, and to seek a deeper connection with Allah. The lessons of Ashura, from the sacrifice of Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, to the deliverance of Prophet Musa, alayhi salam, serve as a compass for navigating the challenges of life. They remind us that, no matter what difficulties we may face, we must continue to strive for justice, to stand firm in our beliefs, and to always seek the mercy of Allah. The sacredness of Muharram invites us to renew our commitment to these values, to reflect on how we can live more consciously, and to dedicate ourselves to becoming better Muslims, both individually and as part of the larger Ummah. As we reflect on the significance of this month, we are reminded of the importance of resilience, patience, and hope. The struggles of the past are not merely stories to be told, they are living lessons that continue to shape our lives today. Muharram invites us to be mindful of these lessons, to learn from the experiences of the past, and to apply them to the challenges we face in the present. It calls us to embrace each day with the intention of becoming a better version of ourselves, to live with integrity, and to seek the pleasure of Allah in all that we do. In the end, the sacredness of Muharram is not just about the rituals we observe, but about the transformations it calls us to make in our hearts, our actions, and our relationships with others. May this sacred month serve as a reminder of the profound spiritual journey we are on, and may it inspire us to strive for greatness, both in our faith and in our deeds.